Hello there, and welcome to another video from Change Tips and Tools. And it's me, Phil, the Brummie that hails from Birmingham. Now, excuse me, I'm going to have a sip of lager because I'm here in the man cave. I've got my lager pumps over there, and thought I'd just wet my whistle with a lager. Cheers, everybody. So this video is to talk about the recent MS Project training sessions that I did, the live sessions. I did have some technical difficulties, but I wanted to give you some excerpts from that. And if you want to check out the full live streams, there's a link to them in the description. So in this video, we're going to focus on the things you need to think about as far as your organisation and what their change management framework, their capital budgeting, and then the things you need to do in workshops and work with the right people to get to agree your product breakdown structure, your work breakdown structure, and understand what are those things? What do people mean when they say these acronyms? So keep watching, and I'll show you the things that you need to do before you even start building a project plan. And then I'll show you some things when opening MS Project for the first time. So let's do this. So I think the first thing is when we talk about projects and how they're funded. So first of all, let's make sure we're all on the same page and what a project is. So it's a temporary endeavour to deliver something unique, and it has a finite lifespan. So it has a defined lifespan, so it's not forever. So that's what a project is. Now, in a lot of organisations, or all organisations, they only have, let me get my little laser pointer going as well, they only have so much budget. So the way that they categorise, the way that they're going to invest in change is they will look at, well, what's mandatory? So what are the things that they must do to keep doing business? Yeah. Next, they'll then prioritise regulatory or policy type projects. They're going to deliver things for policy or regulatory requirements. And then you'll see maintenance projects. So these are typically keeping the lights on. So, and these again are all important. You've then, in a lot of organisations, you've got hearts and minds. So within your organisation, you'll typically have values within that organisation. And you'll know when you go through your individual reviews or your mid-year review or your final year review on your performance reviews, they'll talk about the values and how those values inform your performance. So hearts and minds, they don't necessarily cover the first three, and they don't necessarily make the company any additional money commercially, but they're important to that company's values. And then finally, at the very bottom, you've got discretionary, and these are typically projects that you invest in that are going to deliver some type of change or unique item that's going to make the company some money or add additional benefit. And it's always the thing that gets squeezed. So when an organisation's looking at these discretionary projects, there's a number of things that they have to consider. So firstly, they think about the net present value. So how much return? So when they spend money on a project, what's their return on investment from this project? The other thing they'll think about is a thing called internal rate of return. And again, this is how much investment growth is this going to generate as a project. And then finally, you've got the payback period. So how long is this project going to pay for itself? When am I going to get my money back and start making money in its own right? Now, I've done a number of videos on the channel around investments, and afterwards I'll put them into the link if you want to check those out, and I'll show you how to build Excel templates to do all these things when trying to work out the cost and the benefit of a project. So once we've got that, the other thing you need to be aware of is that your organisation will have many different approaches to change. So for example, you've got managed by stages. So this is taken from Prince2 principles. You've then got waterfall, and this is taken from APM. And then A lot of organizations, especially software development, look at agile. So you've got agile here, enterprise agile or scaled agile, and sometimes it's known as safe. The thing is, you need to be aware of what your organization's using as far as their approach and their change management framework. So, for example, this is taken from a company where their portfolio was managed by a number of these different projects where you've got software delivery lifecycle type projects and the phases it goes through, and they would typically mandate what are the mandatory deliverables, and then depending on the control and the complexity around that project is that you'll have different quality levels as well that you'll need to be aware of. But the key thing is within your organization, make sure that you are aware of the approaches to change and what the mandatory requirements are within your organization. And the best people to go to is typically your PMO or your group PMO, and they will have champions that will be able to put you on the right track. Now, once you've got that and you're aware of that and you're aware of who those people are and what they have as far as a change management framework and what it consists of, you then need to think about your planning. So you don't just run into MS Project and start building a project plan. There are a number of things that you need to go through. Now, I'm a big believer that the recipe for successful project management is 20% the widget and 80% the people. So for a project manager in that widget, when you are baselining that project plan, and then for ongoing projects that are larger and more complex, it is a fundamental tool of the trade for any project manager. And the thing that you'll start off with is possibly a project initiation document or a project brief, which outlines maybe an outline business case, a statement of the scope, some key assumptions, etc. Well, that'll be your starting point, and you'll agree that with your sponsor and some key stakeholders. Then, based on that, you'll start the planning process. And this is very much bringing the right people, the right SMEs into a number of workshops. And that's where you'll start to work out the things that you are going to deliver, the dependencies, the resourcing and costs, etc. So the first thing that you'll work out is what is a product breakdown structure? So what are you going to deliver? The second thing is your work breakdown structure. So you'll think about what this is, what are the activities that you are going to perform to deliver your product breakdown structure and who's going to deliver it. And in there, you'll have your work-based estimates, your duration-based estimates, and you'll work out key dependencies, etc. Now, once you've got that, you'll start to build your project plan and you'll draft it based on your PID, your PBS, and your work breakdown structure, and so on. And this will all be gathered through a number of workshops with the right stakeholders. Yeah. Now, once you've got that, you'll update your PID, and your PID, really the best way I've described a PID, or I've heard a PID being described, is think of it as a filing cabinet. This is where you store all the elements and the important elements of how you are going to manage your project. And it is a living and breathing document. Now, once you've agreed all the elements, you are then ready to baseline your project plan. Now, the thing is, baselining your project plan is vital. It's not just a switch you flick in MS Project, because it's vital because it provides clarity to your and transparency. It represents a stake in the ground. So when you draw that line in the sand, as far as how you're going to manage change against your project, and it is also forms a delivery contract with your stakeholders, your sponsor, and your team. Okay. So once you've got that, let's talk about what a product breakdown structure is. Now, we're going to use a computer as our example for this demonstration, and you'll see how old I am. So the project scope is that we need to build a computer, and that computer consists of sub sub deliverables like a main unit, a monitor, a mouse, and a keyboard. And then when you look at each of those sub deliverables within your product breakdown structure, they also have sub deliverables within themselves. And you'll start to see this numbering. And again, the monitor and mouse likewise will have similar deliverables, sub deliverables within them. So this makes our overall product breakdown structure. And also keep an eye on this numbering, because we'll look at how that helps us build shape within our project plan when we move into MS projects. But the thing is once you've agreed what you're going to deliver, what your product breakdown structure through those workshops, and then you've worked out um, the activities that you are going to do, i.e., your work breakdown structure. In other words, you've worked out how you will build and deliver it, or your work breakdown structure. You've worked out who's going to do it, and they would have provided you, depending on their work-based estimates or duration-based estimates. And you will agree your dependencies, both internal and external, to your project. You'll also have a number of assumptions, and these are fundamentally project management speak for guesses. And guesses, and I've always been surprised when we have assumption logs that seem to have a very long lifespan. They should only really exist within your initiation document and through your initiation phase, but going forwards, they then should be managed as risks if you cannot validate them, and then you manage them through your risk management framework. But once you have all this, you're now ready to build your project plan. Now, just so you get used to the way that I've done the materials in here. So again, in the description, there's a link to the materials, and you'll see a PDF with everything you're seeing on screen now. And you'll see it's literally paint by numbers. So you read the number, do what it says, and follow the instructions. Yeah, but I'm not going to show you in PowerPoint. We're going to do it. So the first thing that we need to do is to, when we open project for the first time, is to make sure we're all starting from the same place. So let me escape out of that. And here is the project file. Now, one of the things to be aware of is that you've got a number of ribbons that I refer to. This is where you enter your tasks within the task ribbon, and we're in the Gantt chart view at the moment. And this is the graphical representation of your Gantt chart. Yeah. Now, there's a number of settings that we're going to do here, and the first thing what I've done already is I've saved this as MS Project Training Part 1 -Part 1. And it's important to do that. So this here, which is the timeline, since this came out, which I think was 2016, I don't think anybody has ever used that timeline. I've never seen anybody use it. So we're going to get rid of that. And also, when sometimes, depending on your organization, this formula bar, a bit like Excel, sometimes is not visible. And I find this really useful when I'm updating or making adjustments in my plan. So I'll show you how to make that visible. And the second thing is when you are creating tasks, is that you've got manual tasks and you've got automated tasks, and we want automated tasks. So I'm going to show you to do those settings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Options. I'm going to go to the Schedule options here. And here, so for yourselves, if you haven't saved it as MS Project Training -Part 1, it will say Project 1, for example. And I'm going to change this to Auto Schedule. Now I can say All New Projects. And then you close it down. Next time, any of these changes you've made will be applied to any new projects that you open. But for the purposes of today, I'm going to use MS Project Training Part 1. And I'm going to change this to auto scheduled for any new tasks that we create. Sip of water there. Then the next thing, I want to get that entry bar up. So I'm going to go to display. And what I'm going to do is make sure on the display here is make sure that the entry bar option is ticked. I'm then going to click OK. The next thing I'm going to do is get rid of this. So I'm going to go to view and I'm going to untick the timeline. And there we go. Then what I'm going to do is make sure you save it, and I'm going to save it as MS Project Training Part 1. But the other thing is when you're working with MS Projects, and I don't know if you're aware of this, it assumes that your start date is the date that you create the file. So everything will be based on the date that you create the file. So for example, this would be the 14th of June 2025 for this project file. But I don't want that, so I'm going to set the project start date, which is, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to project ribbon, project information, and I'm then going to set that to the 7th of July. And then click OK. And that is where I'm going to end this video. I hope you found it informative, and remember to check out the links in the description to the full live streams where we go end to end, building a project plan together, fully resourced, and lots of tips and tricks along the way, all based on my 30 years as a project manager and a PMO professional. I hope you found it informative. So remember to click that like, subscribe, and smash that notifications button for future content. And as always, I wish you all an absolutely wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Now please take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video from Change Tips and Tools. Bye bye now.